What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here. Album of the Week, the series in which we review albums submitted to us by our patrons over on Patreon. This week's record was submitted to us by Zach, and we are talking about the debut self-titled album by Killing Joke from 1980. I don't think prior to this I have ever heard a single Killing Joke song. I know the name, but yeah, this is a new band for me. How about for you?
Interestingly enough, I listened to their EP. It's like Lords of Chaos or something from a couple of years. It was 2022 actually. So that was, I don't know why I even listened to it. Somebody in the Discord pointed it out. And I'd heard a couple of things. Their 2003 Killing Joke, self-titled, their second self-titled, has Dave Grohl doing all the drums. So I listened to that 2003 Deep Dive. And I think I listened to Revelations for the 1982 deep dive and maybe something else. So I was sort of familiar with them, but I don't think I was familiar with all of their lineage and something like this. I was not, I didn't know that they had done an album like their 1980 self-titled. And I guess I wasn't really familiar with their legacy and like the industrial and, that kind of scene. So. Pretty much a new listen for me, but I'm a little familiar with them, but not too much.
Yeah, I really had no idea what they sounded like, and I saw industrial mentioned in post-punk, and those two together just immediately worried me. But I will say I was actually pleasantly surprised by it. Requiem actually reminded me a little bit of M83, actually, some of the vocals on it. I don't know if that's the drummer. Most of the vocals are really kind of gruff and kind of gnarled, but there's some like beltier vocals in the chorus of Requiem that I liked a lot. You get that great bass tone throughout the record. Youth Space, I think, on this record sounds really killer. I think all of the bass lines are really driving and forceful. And the lead vocals on War Dance, they're real weird. There's like a ring modulator on them or something, and like some other effects and stuff. And it actually reminds me a lot of a song that Cram and I recorded together, um, with those kind of vocal effects on it. So actually, I thought that was pretty cool. The almost disco-y groove on the instrumental track, Bloodsport, I think is pretty cool. And for something like so raw, and for them having self-produced it in 1980, I think it sounds pretty darn good. There's some pretty interesting and inventive guitar work on it too. I like the guitar part on Primitive, especially a lot. So I'll say I wasn't head over heels for it, and I don't know that I'd like run back to it or maybe even to other Killing Joke records. I know they have one in 94 and we're doing the deep dive, so maybe I'll check that out. But I still thought it was pretty cool. I'm actually going for 3.5 on this one. It didn't like blow me away, but it far exceeded my expectations. I thought going into an industrial post-punk album from 1980, I thought maybe the best would get out of it was like 2.5. So 3.5, I enjoyed it. There's a good energy to it throughout. It's maybe a little one note, but yeah, solid.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. It's not obviously my favorite style, post-punk in general, industrial in general, but I thought the way that they kind of came up with a new way to, you know, I don't know if it's new because I don't really know the history of industrial and stuff all that well, but I've never really heard anything like this early with that like punk spirit, because it's not like Dead Kennedys or The Clash where it's a little rowdier. This one's very like cold and chilling and almost robotic at times, inorganic, like those hypnotizing grooves just throughout. Very, very unique, I think. There's some like distorted pulsing, like hums and stuff on Requiem, some electronic elements. And then you have those, great bass lines, killer drums throughout, kind of just like locked in. So it's an interesting sound. It's sort of disco-y at times without like the fun. Like it's got like just a very good groove to it, but it's like in a kind of dystopian kind of universe, which is interesting. Yeah, it's monotonous, but it's not like it's monotonous, but in kind of a good way because it kind of just like takes you into their world a little bit. Bloodsport's really cool. It kind of has like a new wave touch to it. It's a little herky jerky, sort of like touches of Blondie and Devo in it, and something like The Weight, which is really cool. Has what passes for a rousing chorus on this album. It's like one of the few times, but it's thrashy enough so that Metallica later covered it. Just a really powerful song. There's not a lot of vocals on this album. Like it's very instrumental based, which is interesting, especially for like a punk-ish adjacent kind of album where the vocals are like, the point a lot of the time. On this, it's like very much that groove is like the whole point of it. And maybe that's the point of industrial music, where it's just like you get locked into the rhythm and the groove in sort of a depressive, monotonous way. So I thought that was very interesting. And yeah, it's just a really cool sound, really unique, really interesting. Just the way it's set up, the way it's played, and like the emphasis on certain things that you don't usually get, especially from music that we usually listen to, and throughout the album, the Week series, and really most of the things that I've listened to in my life. I don't know if I've listened to anything that like had such an emphasis on like the groove. Good playing, good production for self-titled in 1980. And yeah, it's loud and ugly and like otherworldly, but pretty cool. I don't know if I'm going four. It's like 3.5 with room to grow to four. Maybe just like missing a couple more songs, like The Weight, with there's like a little more like actual verse, chorus, kind of rousing structure, but some cool stuff on here. So it's like a high 3.5, possible four in the future.
Yeah, a lot of repetition, and that's usually like that's the worst thing a record can do for me, especially when it's like so rhythmic. And I don't know, something about this one though. I think they do a good job of like being interesting enough and like having cool enough parts that they're able to repeat it, a decent amount, and me not get so bored of it. I think the guitar especially keeps it pretty interesting. And yeah, I don't know. I felt like it didn't bother me the way a lot of similar things from around the same time period just kind of drill into my head and like drive me crazy. This did a better job of keeping things interesting. There seemed to be like maybe like a little bit more like building and like growth to the song. Like even though like the rhythm was repeating, like it had some kind of like forward momentum or like growth to the track. It just wasn't like there was more dynamics, I guess is what I'm saying. It wasn't so like static.
Yeah, the songs don't stay too long either. I mean, there's a couple ones over 5 minutes, but most of them are like 3.5 minutes. It's like just enough. Like they're not pushing it into 5, 6, 12-inch extended dance mix territory here. Like just kind of gets to the point, does its thing, and moves on without just like, yeah, grinding you down into a stupor with its repetition.
All right, yeah, so I thought it was a cool pick. Let us know if you've heard this record, what you think of it, or maybe you'll go check it out. Stop back and let us know. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are not yet subscribed, and check out our Patreon, linked in the video description. If you're interested, the wait list is long for this series, but it's not too late to get on it. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.